Good. So we are recording. So thank you again, all of you here. We have our friend Mark and Claudia. You have met both of them. One time Mark gave a lecture. He was still living in California. So now he is a Miami boy. We don't know until when, but we are happy to have him for a while with us. So it is a pleasure. I did not get your bio because I'm like, they are already family. So whenever you come, you can talk a little bit about yourself. And Claudia, you also know Claudia. She already gave lectures. She helped me with the Healing Passes classes. She is one of the members of the board of directors. It's me, Claudia, and John. So we are the three board of directors of MIA InnerLight. So without further ado, I just would like to invite our brothers and sisters to start the lecture, and it will be Mark. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Angela. Okay, that's good enough.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to go back to the 1850s to begin with. This gentleman, who was a renowned researcher, embarked on a project that would change him forever and change us forever. Allan Kardec. He used the methodology before being introduced to spirits. He used the same methodology in all of his research studies. So when he did the research of the spirits, he used the same type of reputable structure. I'm going to now take you fast forward to this century and talk about a gentleman named Dr. Ian Stevenson.
Let me just confirm. Take it through here. Then you can just.
Very good. Dr. Stevenson, entire adult life has been focused on the studies of children. Not just any children, but the children who claim to have lived previously. Imagine an entire career devoted to interviewing children and parents and their teachers about what the children think happened in a previous life. So, real quick, he began in 1961, and he took this very scientific approach. I'm not going to read all this, but there are some very interesting aspects about what he began to learn right from the beginning. And the first was these children had memories, vivid memories, memories with details, details that could easily be researched and validated. Every single child would speak about a prior life, and the validation would take place. And so he began to publish these works. And again, he was already a published author. He was hired by the University of Virginia to lead the Department of Psychiatry, and they didn't have a clue about near-death experiences or prior lives. Nobody had ever done the psychological analysis of this, and he was the first to begin with children. Now, adult research was already being done as well, but 44 children were included in his first published work. And in those cases, he would not accept that reincarnation was the explanation. Think about what that means. He's interviewing 44 children, and they're talking about having been reincarnated, that they had previous lives. But he refused to accept that as an explanation and continued his research, looking for other ways to explain, continuing to document all the details. And here, this last sentence is the most important, in my opinion, of all his work. His method of documentation has never been questioned. It's his conclusions and his hypotheses that have been questioned. Who does that remind you of? Allan Kardec. They never questioned his method of capturing statistics and events. It was his conclusions that they did not agree with. And here's the types of things that Dr. Stevenson has chronicled, which to this very day continue to be. First of all, the children would, at about the age of 2 or 3, begin to have their memories, begin to speak of their prior lives. And they would stop speaking about it when they hit about the age of 6 or 7. These were not planned or coerced or scripted. These are just free-form thoughts that the child would just blurt out at any time. And what they found was that the interval between the death of the previous personality, what this child was speaking of, when that child died, it was only about 15 months later that the child reincarnated in this life, now being interviewed. Very short time duration from the end of one life to the beginning of the next. They would often describe deceased members of their own family in the prior lives. How would the children in this life know the details of people who were deceased many years before the child was born? And again, all those details continually validated. Death certificates, etc.
Spiritual intervention.
Okay. The one part of the previous life that was often out of the ordinary was the mode of death. So all these children died differently. 70% of them died of unnatural means, violent, sudden deaths. Not degradatory, not that they were born with a malady and eventually died from that malady. No, these were very healthy children that met a violent death over 70% of the time. And again, the children being interviewed, they're talking about their prior lives. Okay? They're talking about the prior lives. So many of the children also showed other behaviors, not just the memories. They had all kinds of little strange, unique things. One of them was this emotional longing for family. So here is the child in current time speaking about themselves in a prior time. And they're speaking of the affinities they had for other friends and family members. And again, what they would find in this lifetime is they go back into the history books and be able to validate, yes, this person lived next door to this other little girl and they grew up together until this girl died suddenly. And so all these facts continued to be done. And were these affinities kept continually appearing with these children. 35% of the children who died in violent deaths also showed phobias related to that death. And one of the most common ones was drownings. So in the prior life, the child drowned. In the current life, they don't want to be near water. They don't even want to take a bath. They shower only. It's real interesting when that kind of phobia continues. And they would often act out the occupation of the previous personality, reenacting the death scene. So I read 2 or 3 of these different analyses that he did, where he documented word for word what the child was describing. And the child was literally describing how she died at the hands of another person.
Were these the original 44 or including all this?
These were the original 44 that were the first in the published work under the University of Virginia, this reputable source. Okay. And what we find is that this study spawned a whole series of other studies funded all over the world. And so this research continues to this very day. There are now 2,500 cases of children all over the world documented, the details, every single one of them validated, of their past life details. So there's multiple investigators, multiple things going on. The database has 200 different variables that they can start to see these kinds of trends, 70%, et cetera, et cetera. And again, no conclusions. All the conclusions do is now they know they want to keep testing for something specific. But they're not saying reincarnation is a real deal, because that's not proven by science yet. Or is it? So here's my favorite slide. From a child's perspective, this generation of children arrive in this lifetime with pre-existing knowledge. We just have to learn to accept that. The kids being born today are coming to the planet with knowledge. Some of them don't have consciousness, but they have an inner spark, something very much driving them towards curiosity, what's really going on. And when they have those prior life memories, they want to figure out what the heck has happened. So I want to give you my own take on this. My two boys grew up as gamers, sitting for hours and hours at a computer or at a Game Boy or at an Xbox or a PS2 or whatever the device happens to be, playing whatever kinds of games. But you know what those games are all about? Many of them. They're all about reincarnation. They're all about, I get to go through this puzzle. And if I'm attacked, I have to defend myself. Otherwise, I'm going to attack anything that's in my way as I try to navigate to the goal, to the prize, to the next level. And if something in my way destroys me, I go back and start all over again with the knowledge of the prior life, not to make the same mistakes again. And now I get farther in the game. I pointed this out to my oldest son. I said, here's a spirits book if you really want to read about this. And he started to read it. Because he gets it. My youngest, not there yet. It's a little spooky for him. But this is this whole premise of the games today. It's reincarnation. And these kids, they're so accepting of it. It's okay if I die, I'm coming back. They just roll with it. That's the kids. That's Dr. Ian Stevenson. Fascinating stuff if you want to read about those 44 children. The case studies are just off the wall. Unbelievable. Claudia.
So that kind of proves to us that we have some form of reincarnation. To remember what you were doing just a few years before while incarnated on earth, and then you get back here. And you can go extensive ways to children that are 4 years old and play the piano just like they were experts. How could they be 4-year-old and play the piano that well? It's a muscle memory. Wow, it's a muscle memory piano. Just like singing is a muscle memory. But it's a muscle memory in our physical body now that gets kept, because it is a memory, in our perispirit that does have a physical part, and then it plays back into your body. I can't see the camera anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah. That plays a part within your physical body when you're reincarnated, and you get 1,000,000 1-to-1 self connected from your body to your spirit. So everything that you had a connection before
you will have a connection. Now, are you allowed to access everything? That's a different story. However, muscle memory is not a memory that normally interferes with your morals. It's just something you do, like relearning to walk or relearning to ride a bike. You suffer an accident, you lose mobility on a part of your body, you train again, you can walk again, you can ride a bike again, you can do things again in your lifetime. It's the same when you go to heaven and you come back and you reincarnate and you learn to walk again and ride the bike again. It's just that little interruption that needs to be reconnected for you to start again. That's why it's so easy. And we don't start walking like gorillas. We already start walking. Some kids now in our days start walking just like they never crawled, right? So this is all about connections. And one of the reasons that we reincarnate, strangely enough, is because of connections. We need to go through our connections to people, to others, to family, to enemies, right? So today we're going to just briefly brush over some of the subjects and try to understand a little bit deeper, not just so much reading out of the book, just try to talk about it and try to introspect a little bit about reincarnation. So the fundamentals of spiritism are these. These are the basic stones we walk upon when we're learning spiritism. First one, the existence of God. Spiritists don't learn. Spiritists are not awakened. Spiritists just know there is a God. It's inert inside of you. And you just know it. There is no questioning. There's no doubting. And if anybody comes up to you and say anything different, it's like they must be from a different planet, because in this one, I know God is here. They've seen it. They felt it. They've seen proofs of it within their lives. And each one of you, it's going to be a different experience. But this is one of our principles. And we need to talk about it. Because once we touch somebody that has never thought about that, and they start introspecting about the existence of God, they may just really, understand that God is also available on their lives. The second one is the existence of spirits, and that we can talk to them, and that we're not dead after we die, right? We're not really dead. I don't know if you guys had somebody close to you, like a parent or a child die, but if you've had, I am sure you still feel its presence. It could even be an animal, some people say. Reincarnation, I'm going to touch a lot about that, so I'm just going to skip it over. Multitudes or pluralities, like many, inhabited worlds. So we understand that we are halfway through the types of worlds that exist. And as we recess, or if we were ever to go backwards, they're more dense. But as we move forward, because we do not retrocess in our evolution path, we become more ethereal. And those worlds become less visible to your eyesight, more visible to your third eye, or to your feelings. Less matter. I guess I'm going to be really skinny when I reincarnate again. Beautifully skinny. And the communicability that we have with them. And I'm not just talking about my mom, my dad, my this, my that died, or, I'm talking about my guidance spirit. We talk to them. Mine refuses to answer me, but Angela's does a good job answering her. So I'm sure he hears me. It's not because you don't freely communicate with your spirit guide that is not there and that is not listening to you. Because the way my life has led me, everything that's happened throughout my life, if you ever sit down and have a talk with me, you will see that my spirit guide works double, triple time to help me out. Doesn't talk to me, but still talks to me. But these are principles. These are things we should be talking about to everybody we know. That's why you're in America today. So what is reincarnation? We know it's a repeat, right? You didn't do so good last time, come do it again. Incarnation means being a corporeal form within an earth realm. Maybe when we get to an astral realm, when we get to Jupiter, it's not going to be called incarnation. It's going to be called a different name because it's a different matter. But right now, this is what we understand because we are connected to flesh. And I love this quote. It says, the return of a soul or spirit to a physical life in another body that has been newly formed for it. So think about this. I lived 5, 10, a million, God knows how many lives, right? I've created all this history that I need to make amends for. And then there is a planning that gives me a perfectly fit new body for this lifetime. Is there or isn't there a God? Reincarnation is not only known by spiritists. Reincarnation are known by lots of different types of spiritualists. There is many publications by many different authors. Some of them may have an interference of a spirit. Some of them may not be, may just be people that have experienced things that showed him there is an afterlife. Near-death experiences, all these different things that happen to people throughout their life existence, and then they come back and give testimonies. You know, people that have been under surgery, drugged, you know, totally out for the doctors, and then all of a sudden they saw themselves laying there and the doctors operating on them. He didn't die. It was not a near-death experience, but it is an out-of-body proof that the spirit can live outside of your body and then go right back into your body and keep on going, because some of them live another entire lifetime after that happened. Is that true or not? Mm-hmm. So we have proof today that we can live outside our bodies and then go back into our bodies. We actually do that, if you don't know, every single night. Once you close your eyes and your body is actually asleep, I don't do a lot of that, so I don't think I'm a very good student, but we leave our bodies and we go to school. We go to be with the people that we do mediumship work with, that we do hardship work with, that we do emotional work with, whether it's our family, our spiritual friends, or our discarnate family. And we go and we get work done. We pray for other people. We assist other people. We participate on dreams of other people to give them messages for the following day. Things we can do during our sleep. Somebody just went in the computer over there.
That's why I wake up every day tired.
It could be. Magnesium helps. So the Spirits book is a very good book if you want to know more about reincarnation. Around questions 160, it gives you a lot of minutious details on how it happens, why it happens, how can it happen, why do we have babies that die when they're little, and every single little mystery. Do we, while we are spirit, we have, you know, romantic encounters? Everything is on this book. Anything you can think of. Kardec was very smart. I don't know if he had a computer in the, but But his array of questioning amazed me. I don't think I could have thought about all these questions with this variety or plurality or multitude of different aspects of each one of the subjects that we support within the dogma. And then the brilliant answers that came together with passages of the Bible to tie it all in together to history. It just makes it so much easier to fathom. But you see, it says, from its principle, it seems that after having left one body behind, the soul then takes on another. In other words, it reincarnates into a new body. So we're sick now. We may or may not be sick later. Please do not kill yourselves. That does not help. But it does give you a wish that whatever it is that is burdening us now, that we must go through it, it will be over once we pass on. This is proof of reincarnation. If you know the story of this gentleman, imagine at age 7, first opera, no computers. Where did he get it from? Today, people are questioning the 4-year-olds that are playing the piano, right? That they, since 2 years old, since he was in my belly, I used to listen to classic music. That's why he was born like this. So they discredit reincarnation. How do you explain this guy? I'm sure he was not listening to classic music on his mother's belly. I'm sure. And at 12, he would write 2 complete operas. Incredible. And look, this is 7, the limit age that you remember your past life. This is 12. After the age, you're not supposed to be remembering your past life as well. So this is what I'm talking about. It's muscle memory. They allowed him to use his muscle memory when he was young enough that he was able to take it for eternity, for the rest of his life, let's put it this way. Interesting enough, some of us are born and we want to be dancers. Others want to be singers. But our parents are from a more traditional way of earning money, and they won't allow you to do all this artistic work. And being that you have been curbed in your early ages, you may never acquire the correct muscle memory for that incarnation and never become the singer or the dancer or the whatever that you are intended to be, because your muscle memory was bringing you that. Isn't that incredible? Why? Why do we reincarnate? It is necessary. I am nowhere close to Madre Teresa. By no shape or form. The ones that are really close to me know that. So Madre Teresa was a few steps below Christ, few hundred steps. So look how far away from me is Christ. For me to get any closer than that, I gotta come back here a few times around. Because every time we come, we are better. The great news tells us today, right now, at this very moment, hug yourself and pat yourself on the back. You are the best version that is of yourself ever. 5 minutes ago, you were not as good as you are right now. And 5 minutes away from now, you'll be better. Always. You need to search advancement. Advancements on anything you learn, because you carry it through life, shown muscle memory. You need to advance on your moral and your spiritual advancements, things that you learn. And you see, when you learn something in your lifetime, let's say you have learned that drugs are bad for you. In this lifetime is easy. I've already learned it on this lifetime, and from now until I die, I ain't gonna do no good with it. But the next life is coming. And on the next life, you don't remember everything you just learned on this lifetime. So guess what's happening? You'll be tested again. Will you pass the test? Did you bring that teaching into your intellectual everyday steps? Or did you bring that teaching into your moral steps to take it to the next level? How deep is your learning, not your love? There is tons of thousands of people that are discarnated, that work every day for all these parts of the world. I'm not even going to consider other planets. All these parts of the planet Earth, from mineral to plants to ethereal to matter to people and places, to exist and being orchestrated every single minute of every single minute. See how important you are? There's at least 7 or 8 people out of this huge amount of people, at least 7 or 8 people that are looking at you all your life, every day. My kids, I taught kids for quite a bit. My kids would say, even when I'm in the bathroom? Yes, even when you're in the bathroom. They are always looking out for you. Because you're always thinking in the bathroom too, right? Edgar Casey. So if you want to talk about Americans and spiritism, study this guy. In doing for others the same, there comes the answer to the problems for self in every direction. So he understood that if I look at myself or if I look at people around me, I can always learn more. Imagine when he understood reincarnation, how much further did he go? Now, he's one, and there are hundreds of them. Some you know their names for, hundreds and hundreds you don't know their names for. There is many people that are involved in getting others better, cures. Many people that are involved in making other people's lives better, as in volunteering and charity. Many people that are in line with the law, trying to protect innocent people. There is many people incarnated today that are geared every day on their daily lives to make somebody else's people better. Yeah. We think the world is worse because with the internet we can see all this crap that we couldn't see before. But we know by the level of advancement that the earth has finally decided to achieve now, that there's more good people than there were 200, 300, 500 years ago. So reincarnation is a blessed opportunity. Because if I said that there's at least 7 or 10 people up there waiting to reincarnate, and you're the chosen one to be here, it's pretty good odds. Thank you very much. I hope this has brought a little bit more in your thoughts. I don't know how to do it. You do it. Very, very good. So let's bring our friends back here. Okay. So at this moment we have time now for questions and answers. So I would like to ask you guys here in the computer and here as well, if you want to ask a question, make a comment here and the ones here.
So, John,
I'd like to ask Mark and Claudia, from their point of view, we're always faced with the overwhelming truth of every
first of all, is a question or a comment
question.
to Mark or Claudia?
Oh,
To both. Okay, good. So, Mark, Claudia, come here and so.
I am always overwhelmed by the evidence of everything in spiritism that would make a reasonable person say, why don't you consider it? That's not my question. But specifically for reincarnation, I am amazed that for educated, reasonable people, no matter what evidence you give them, there is sometimes religious, sometimes not, just a absolute block to not even consider reincarnation. So I often wonder then, with our whole spirit, so my question is, what else would you do except reincarnate one more time? So people could understand that reincarnation is real, it exists, and a blessing. I guess that's my question.
Just one thing. Can you guys could you guys understand the question from John? Because you are far from the mic. I just want to understand if you understood. So, Mark, before you explain, just repeat them exactly what he is trying to understand.
John is asking how to use reincarnation in everyday communications. In other words, how to take a person from no belief to at least accepting the possibility of it.
Well, I guess you can say that. I guess my question is, what is the resistance that seems
That's
to
right.
be, I said, partially religious, partially convictions, and we're not even talking about communication with spirits.
Okay, I
We're
believe it.
talking about reincarnation.
I believe it stems from question number 1 of the Spirit's book, that humanity on this planet, through all the different religions and faiths, have always had a fear. God. A fear. Okay, and I believe every objection to the principle of reincarnation stems from the religious dogma associated with a fear of God. And now I can tell you that in my limited 5 years of spiritism, but preceded by 60 plus years of Christianity and Catholicism, I felt like I was pretty well versed in how to have this discussion, not argument, this discussion. And so I've attempted this discussion with fellow Christians who have an absolute mental. But by saying to them, why do you think God is a punishment now? Why do you have a fear? Hasn't God demonstrated more than enough that he's not to be feared? He's to be praised. We sing the praises in all the religions of God. So if you realize that the history of written documentation for God begins with this fear, you begin to understand why they're afraid of coming back. What happens upon death? They're going to have to fear a judgment. They know that the life they've led on this planet is not necessarily as good as it could. And so I just start with the fear factor. And I say there's no reason for you to have a fear. There's no reason. God is a loving God, not a punishment. But that's me. I don't know that that works for everyone. I know there's far more.
Yeah.
Far more capable people than I to have that discussion.
I'm on a play, right? And my character on the play has a statement that says, you see, when the information about the astrophysical, the extraterrestrial, is given to the recently arrived from Earth, the information is given in small doses. Not everything all at once. Because once you die, you're supposed to have an open visibility of what's around you. Different than here that we have a limited visibility, correct? So once you die, you should be able to just know everything and understand everything, but it's not true. We're still limited by our fears, our preconceived ideas, our goals that are not necessarily in line with reincarnation. Because what I want it now. I want it for my existence. So for me, it starts with fear. Absolutely. Because if God is going to punish me, I don't want him to punish me for eternity. But it continues into our own little mysteries that each one of us have that are very, very inside of us. You see, I think Jews have a very big resistance in general to understand reincarnation. And they're extremely intelligent. They speak multiple languages just to begin with. They study multiple things. That's what the nature and the culture of the Jews are. But they do not understand death. They don't want to die. They don't understand that death can bring progress. They don't want to hear of it. They want to make the richest here and enjoy this richness for as long as they exist. And that's part of their culture. And if they were born in a culture like that or ingressed in the culture like that, that is the type of life that they need to live. However, I showed you 5 different fundamentals of spiritism. Reincarnation is just one. And if they already believe in God, if they already understand they can speak to their guardian angels, if they understand there's multiple worlds out there because the universe is so humongous, it's very, very prepotent of us little humans thinking that only Earth has habitants intelligent people, right? Every single other planet may have some rocks, may have some animals, but not smart people like humans, right? Yeah, very prepotent. No. So they understand a lot of the principles already. So it's just their level of advancement. And the more we talk to them about it, it's like that little light that was really hidden. And as we talk, their curiosity starts to sift the light through. And eventually, maybe not in this lifetime, maybe a couple of lifetimes away, it will be over. It's a matter of consciousness. Because there are Jews that are more spiritists than some spiritists we know as well. It's just a level of conscience.
So anybody else? Any other questions?
Just a comment, I think
Yeah,
that
one.
Western religions, all of them, are based on fear of God. It's a supreme punishment. You have to be good or we will be punished. Whereas Eastern religions, Hinduism, they believe in reincarnation. It's a different approach to how you see your position vis-a-vis God. Western religions, they all have instilled in all of us that we have to fear God, that we will be punished. Do what we tell you, the church. Do what we tell you or you will be punished. That's what all of us have grown hearing and believing.
Because that's how they can control us.
Yeah. Whereas if you go east, if you go to India, for instance, they believe in reincarnation. The different things, some of the things that we don't want to get into here, but it's a different approach. They don't really believe that there's a God that will punish them. I think that's a basic look. Look at all the Western religions, Judaism, Catholic, Protestant, and all that. It's this God that is going to punish them. People are not good.
Yes,
If you ever want to get a sense of what he was just talking about, Google compare spiritism to the 10 largest religions in the world. Just type that in your Google search. And then go to images. Don't read the text. Go to images. You're going to find a chart. And the columnar headings are the 5 principles of spiritism. And you get to see Buddhism and all these other religions, Judaism, Christianity, et cetera, et cetera. And they'll even break down Christianity into Protestants, Mormons, LDS, the whole nine yards. You get all this level of detail of who believes what. And the second exercise is just look at the confusion in Christian religions. Okay? There are, last time I looked, 47 different Christian religions. 47 unique combinations of beliefs. Now, a lot of them, all but one are the same, but 47 different Christian beliefs.
Well, I just want to mention that you're talking about India. The most cases of reincarnation that kids remember past life, they are from India. And one of the most famous cases is a young girl that remembers so vividly that they took her to the city and to the house where she was married. And she knew everyone's name. She knew a little secret place on the house. She knew everything. This is one of the most famous cases of incarnation. Most are from India. And I wonder if because they spiritual way they look at life instead of arts. Yeah, I don't know, but that's
Dr. Stevenson has an associate in Calcutta, and he has that Indian
it's not
element.
huge there.
Yeah, huge.
Most cases.
Yeah, and my professional career began in Silicon Valley, and I remember in the 80s, this huge influx of Middle Eastern, Indian programmers. Where does talent come from? How are they pushing these? How are they pushing these kids through school so fast compared to what Americans were doing? I couldn't believe the quality of the programs that were coming up, leading edge stuff. And now it's starting to make sense to me. These are kids who are coming back in a new life, Any other questions?
So one comment on the India issue is that yes, because in India this is well accepted, so it's welcome. Everybody accepted. So when you talk about another case of reincarnation, okay, yes, where?
Yeah.
Oh, there, and then how was this one? So it's
Yeah.
normal. In America, it's very repressive in this type of thing, and then people say, is there any schizophrenia in the family? That's the first question. And then they start seeing other options. It's because this is not common. It's not ingrown in the culture. In Brazil as well, when you talk about reincarnation, even if the person do not believe, they heard of it. It's in the commercials, in the soap operas, it's in the jokes, it's everywhere. So it's more acceptable, even if your belief is not into it, for example. Okay, Sonia, unmute your microphone and let us know your question.
About the study of the children, the ones that reincarnate, remembering their past life, do they stay like that for their whole life, or it's just a certain amount of time that they keep remembering their previous life?
If you remember, there was a slide that talked about the continuing research, and they now have 2,500. That's the new count as of a couple of years ago, I think. But they began with that original 44. So they are still tracking those 44 into their adult life, periodically coming back to them all and asking any new memories, any new things to document, and that type of thing. And they're also doing research to find out those that have had emotional challenges, mental challenges, they're actually experimenting with medications, not only to address their emotional challenges, anxieties, etc., but also to try to trigger more memories. And in some cases, they're getting pretty far out there with experimental drugs, and they're getting more memories. So, science and medicine are doing some amazing things right now in one respect. And in another respect, it's kind of scary to think about, where do they stop this? What's the purpose? I don't know.
So any other questions here, online or here?
I just want to make a
Good.
comment
Yeah, sure.
regarding the fear. They talk how about the fear of God. This is just what is the way to control masses of people is to fear. How could they control? What do they do with shepherds, with sheep? They have dogs to get them all moving in certain directions, and they use the dogs, and the sheep are in fear. It's the same thing that they do in order to control the people, to get them to do what they want, is to put them in a situation of fear, because when a person is in fear, he cannot, it's just in a survival mode, no? So they don't open their mind to anything else. So,
Just like
No,
some politicians
no.
do it today.
it's
Just some like politicians do it
the
today.
same, it's the same thing. For me, when I was a child, and say, you know, this, God is going to punish you. I was, he loves me.
They're supposed to do that,
that's
right? Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't fall into that. But they do this control people, and I'm not going to get into this, but I lost consciousness in the confessionary.
Yeah.
And
It's just that
I lost
misconception.
consciousness. They told me that I was going to go very hell, and the hell was going to keep me alive. And as I came out of the confessionary, I lost consciousness. And I never came back. And I never did go back to church to confess to anything. I just did my own thing. But this is the thing. This is what they do. They make you feel like you. I honestly don't know what I told them. But it's there for him to tell a 17-year-old all those things that they were saying, or 16-year-old. I don't think I was 17 years old. To a point of making me feel so bad that I lost consciousness. It's funny now, but at the time, you know, me to probably kiss a boy. I was 8. I was not Mother Calcutta, but I was never a
But I'm from Brazil, you're from Spain, very religious, strictly religious countries. But as we just understood about the spiritism and reincarnation, each spirit is different. Even if we are born in a society that's very dogmatic, for example, but if you are more advanced, more open-minded, you will question, is everything accepting this? Is it right? I was similar to you. I also told the priest that I had direct connection with God at 10 years old. And I almost didn't get the thing I wanted, like a first communion, because they wanted to throw me out of a church. But, it's important that nowadays we are all opening up our minds. The new kids that are being reincarnated already have these wires that are more like open. They are more they are questionable. They are always questioning. Is it right? Why? I already did in my time, but the answers are my mother were like, I said so, and that's it.
That's right.
Nowadays I tell this to my son, it's like, no, but why? You are just my mother. So I lost the importance there. So he wants to understand much deeper. But Julio, you wanted to make a comment, a question?
Yes.
I don't know if it's a comment or it's something that I was thinking is about the birthmarks in the Aristotelism. He observed that some kids, they had a birthmark related to the way that they died. And one thing that we learned or we saw in some Chico Xavier explanation about suicidal, that when they die, they usually damage the perispirit, and that in the next life they come with some side
Traces.
effects, some problems, because they damage the perispirit. But in this case, in these kids, they were not suicidal. They died in a violent way, and in some way they damage the perispirit as well. This is the explanation about these birthmarks.
There's more than that.
Yes. So I this is my the way that I see
just
it, that my
before,
interpretation for that.
before you continue, before they give their own explanation, you need to understand in Spiritism, the explanation of the perispirit, it is malleable. So it is something that it has the shape of our physical body, but it's malleable. So it can have something imprint on it, something. Yes, through a damage that we auto-impose on us, through suicidal or drinking poison, but other effects also. If you were murdered with a shot in your heart, and you reincarnated pretty quickly, as Mark said, like a year or a few months later, that is in your brain and is in your perispirit. So even if you didn't kill yourself, that damaged so much and is imprinted so quickly. You know, the spirits, the enlightened spirits tell us that usually we take 100 years to come back. Usually. So as we can see, you can come back in 1 year, but usually normal cases is 100 years because we're in the spiritual realm learning what we did wrong, what we did well, and so we can have a successful return. These kids, they had, most of the time they had terrible deaths that were really difficult. They were having hard time coping with it. So spirituality somehow decided to send them back. Sometimes they ask, can I come back immediately? And they can also ask, can I come back immediately because I want to be one of the people that will demonstrate reincarnation do exist. Now continue with your comment.
Yes. Then the conclusion that I have is we don't damage our perispirit just when we commit suicide. Depending on the way that we die, we can damage our perispirit, and then we will come in the next life with some maybe thing that is related with this death.
And yes, it could be that the spirit caused the death. It could also be that the spirit didn't cause anything. Something else caused that spirit, that body to die at a very young age. There was one more comment that Angy got me thinking about on the suicides. Dr. Stevenson has an associate at the University of Virginia that became an advisor to multiple presidents on the wave of suicides in the United States, not just children, but returning Vietnam War veterans. Remember, this began in the 60s. So there's this entire study, psychological study that has been done on suicides since the 60s. Okay, and when there's children involved in suicides, they're part of this whole statistical analysis that's going on. And I'll just give you one example of one that it's not that the child committed suicide, that the parent did. The parent killed both children before killing themselves. That's one of those violent deaths. That child comes back not only with an affinity for the parent who did this, but also a complete memory of that entire scene, watching it happen, watching the sibling be killed in front of the child's eyes. So, the emotional baggage that the child brings into the new incarnation, that's tremendous. Can you imagine being the parent of a child that has that memory and voices it out loud? As a parent, how do you support your child? I mean, I was reading some of these case studies, and that's the first thing that stuck. If this was my child, I'm not sure I could handle this, even with spiritist knowledge. That's so deep. It's so deep. So yeah, it's pretty intense.
I need to correct the word removed. It's not damage, it's impact. There is a difference between your very spirit doesn't get damaged, but it has imprinted information. Do any of you have a tattoo?
No.
So you have imprinted on your perispirit. You understand that? You have hammered a nail on it so many times through your perispirit to get through your skin that you have an imprint that you created on your perispirit. It's not a damage, it's not permanent, but it will follow you through a part of your eternal life. Not through eternity, but through a part of it. It will extend your memories of whatever it is, the reason you put that on them. So if you understand that about a tattoo, it's the same about the incident, creating an imprint on your perispirits, so that you somehow subliminally, because you don't remember you died out of A or B or C reason, but you remember that that birthmark on your arm, somewhere in your head, reminds you of whatever it is that you died of. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a clear memory. It's not a, I know I got shot by my father type of thing, but it will have that little thing on the back of the mind. It has a purpose, and it's to heal it. That is the purpose. We only imprint our bodies with a tattoo if there is something so impactful that happened in our lives, and we need to heal them. Even if it's happening.
Very good. Any more comments? We are closing.
Just to add one thing, just to finish about the question of Mark, that he said that he doesn't understand why, but we have so many evidence about reincarnation, of why it's not spread. And for me, this is not just the fear of God, because I studied in a Catholic school in the ground.
Can you just speak a little louder so they can hear?
Okay. About the so I missed myself. About why I think that it's not just the fear in God, the explanation why so many people don't believe in incarnation. I think that while the religion that we follow answer our questions and is enough for us, we stay stuck in this religion. Because in my case, when my questions, the gaps that I had started to become so big, and the religion didn't give me the answer that that for my questions, then I started to look for other explanations. But when the people, it's not just fear, because I always had a fear in God, the hell, and heaven, but it started to not make sense for me. And then I started to question, why this, why that? And the Spirit answered this question for me. Of course, as the Spirit, I still have my gaps. I will not say that answers every question that I have. And I'm a kind of person that I'm open. Maybe one day I will find something that will answer better. I don't know. But I think that while we have something that answer our questions, we stay there. This is the evidence.
Yeah, it could be that. And
Not just
you know,
we are, and also don't need to be religious. People that have no religion,
Exactly.
they also refuse to believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
Or they actually believe in something, but they do not believe in God. So there are so many intangibles and differences. That's why it's okay. We are all different spirits, and this is the important thing. We are all evolving, and one day we will reach to a level that we will be more open and more understanding. And this will not going to be some questioning, will be an understanding, will be within us. So this will be the future. So Bridget, I believe you asked the question. Really unmute yourself and let us know what is the question.
Okay. If the animals have a spirit and if they reincarnate, my cat.
Well, this is a different subject, but what we can say is that the thing is the Spiritism don't provide us with a very, very deep understanding about animals. We know animals do not have a soul yet. They have a spiritual principle, meaning they are in the evolution to one day reincarnate with a soul, becoming a human being. But at the stage they are, doesn't matter what animal they are, they have a intelligent principle. And you can say by the difference of animals, there are animals that are much more advanced. We understand that dolphins are extremely intelligent. And recently I even saw that chickens, they can understand math. And it amazed me. I couldn't believe that. So I'm like, oh my God, I still eat chicken. It's better I stop eating chicken because chicken is becoming much more advanced than I imagined. And I'm like, Angela, please improve. But we don't know much of that. We just understand that the love connects us all. So if you have a pet that you really loved, there are many books of Andrea Lewis' spirit that he mentions that the lady who died, she was in a house and with her pet who had also died. There are other animals that are mentioned that are in the spiritual realm. So this is the good thing. We will be united with our little animals, our little loved ones as well. We just don't have so much of details at this point.
But
Is anything that
they don't have the hard drive, right? So their spirit is not equipped to keep their memories from one life to another the way we do, in order to grow their advancement that way. So they're just appearing love and feelings, but they're not keeping karma or whatever it is that you call with the relationship with your past owner or your fellow pets in the house. That doesn't exist.
Very good, my friends. Let me stop the recording at this point. We are going to go here through the passes. So if you are online and you would like to receive the passes, please put there your bottle of water, and then you will be benefiting